Yeah. What's up, guys? It's your man Mellon. So, I guess they're meeting. The Supreme Court's meeting about immunity today, and I just thought this shit was funny because there's some dude in the background just screaming fake news to CNN while they try to do their interview. It's fucking hilarious. But yeah. Kind of makes sense because, you know, you get indicted 92 times. It's pretty fucking ridiculous. But yeah.
Branch of the government that's not abusing its power.
Could you please, from, again, a 35,000-foot perspective, explaining it to us like we're second graders, give me the strongest arguments in favor of upholding Donald Trump's immunity that you heard today?
Well, there was a lot of discussion about absolute immunity, and everybody sort of agreed that there's no absolute immunity. You can have a president that might be president, at the time he's in office, and he goes out and he kills somebody, and he does it personally, and there's not an argument that it's within his official duties. But that's not what we're talking about. Even though Dreeben wanted to suggest that that is what Trump's lawyers are asking for, it's not the case. Everybody concedes that absolute immunity is, the only place that it actually really applies is from a civil lawsuit while he's in office, from somebody trying to sue the president over things. There you get closer to absolute immunity. Here we're talking about a criminal case, and so the analysis falls to the level of immunity and how much do we extend it, and how protected is the president under Article 2, which gives him the basic power of the executive branch. So then the question is, where do we parse the line? There are unofficial acts that still need to be protected, and so that line is very gray, it's blurry, and that's what the Supreme Court is battling right now, is where are we drawing the line? Because if the president is asking for an election, claiming that an election is been fraudulently, stolen, or that he actually won, and then he's asking people to go and review that. There's an argument that that's personal, and that he's a candidate at that point. And can we go after him for his comments and words about that may have riled people up that went into the Capitol? Whereas the Supreme Court is nervous about that because it is not a clear criminal action that occurs like a homicide. And so their concern is, do we draw the line so bright and so narrow that we've given way too much protection? Or if we don't draw the line, that is if we draw it too broad, have we basically invited every administration to go after their political opponents? And that's why this case is so monumental, is they're going to give us some insight into how strong do we extend that immunity to those gray areas.
Such an interesting line of questioning, since you brought up people walking into the U.S. Capitol, right? So such an interesting line of questioning. I believe it was Alito, but may have been Gorsuch, saying, what if a president leads a protest, peaceful protest? Well, presidents have done that in the past.
Right.
And that disrupts things, right? Certainly very disruptive, right? Order the National Guard troops that Kennedy did, to go integrate colleges in the South, right? What if the president leads a peaceful protest? What if that disrupts an official proceeding? So the president now, 22 years in prison? It's such I thought that was such a fascinating point. And the point that you just brought up is the obvious shades of gray here. Clarence Thomas asking about presidents carrying out coups. I mean, Clarence Thomas is straight up just like, presidents have carried out coups. They have murdered other world leaders. They have done regime change. He brought up Operation Mongoose. Clarence Thomas is straight up being like, these are you're literally slaughtering. Right. You're ordering the slaughter of people and the regime change of people you don't like.
And that's why it all comes back to this.
And they did that with Obama, when Obama did the airstrike and killed that 16-year-old kid. So why isn't he in jail?
Strategy when it comes to Donald Trump taking over in 2024, if you were to advise, in order to end this, right? Because I don't think anybody wants the tit for tat that's going to leave the whole world blind, right? The eye for the eye. Like, how do you do this? How do you structure this in a way that it doesn't happen again? How do you make it hurt it? I'm a parent. How do you spank in a way that you correct the behavior?
Yes. So, this is my opinion on this, and I'll tell you, I think it will work. But so addressing what happened in Arizona, I think it's outrageous. The timing is outrageous, but not only that, they've already found, and it has been legitimized by courts, they found that election fraud occurred in Arizona. You are going after the lawyers and electors who were acting in their official capacity, who believed that they were making correct decisions. You could disagree with that, but applying the law to prosecute them for their, they're exercising their authority based on what they knew at the time, and then going after the lawyers is it's akin to obviously what's happening in Fulton County, Georgia, and the prosecution of the attorneys. It's a very ugly chapter, and it needs to be stopped. So you need to have massive funding that's built, a fund that can be dedicated to defend the lawyers. I never thought I'd say that, but you do have to defend these lawyers who are willing to go into court, make arguments. They're allowed to do that. So that's one thing. You have to have a $30 to $50 million defense fund that's put up by folks to go out and defend these lawyers. Otherwise, you're seeing what happened in Fulton County, where they're just coming in, they're scared, they plead guilty, and it sets bad precedent. And then Arizona gains confidence and says, we'll go ahead. The second thing that you have to do, obviously, if Trump gets in, you get people in positions, and they need to be, people that are going to be basing their decisions on the law and the facts. But I do think you punch a bully back, and then maybe we get to a place where both sides say, okay, we'll call a ceasefire, and we'll stop, going at each other, our political adversaries, as aggressively. But having said that, if we do not change the immunity laws on prosecutors, which has developed and become so robust that they are absolutely protected, even when they abuse their positions, even when there's findings of misconduct, a judge, a state court judge in a criminal case right now, and a federal court judge in a criminal case right now, neither one of them have any confidence that they can sanction a prosecutor for misconduct. So it is not clear. The law has not been developed. So the immunity, and Clarence Thomas talks about this, the immunity, qualified immunity has grown and expanded to such a degree that we cannot hold bad acting prosecutors accountable. And people say to me, well, there's the bar, you could file a complaint, you could bring a civil lawsuit. That's totally not true. The bars, their ability to hold a prosecutor in check is virtually nothing, because they operate under different laws. And then the civil lawsuits cannot go forward against prosecutors, and they are thrown out routinely in this country. So until we do change that qualified immunity, where they have some risk to making a decision, like Alvin Bragg or like Fani Willis, to where they have some personal exposure on this, then we'll continue to have these problems.
Yeah.
So there's just this one other thing that I thought was really funny. Where's it at? Oh, here it is. So this dude's trying to talk, and you hear this guy yelling in the background.
However they rule, can't go to trial probably before the fall. And now we come to exactly what they're considering here, which is the question of whether a president has absolute immunity. And then there's a second question here, which is whether anything that Donald Trump is accused of would actually constitute a presidential act implicated in the immunity question. Yeah.
Just making sure you're okay. Is everything okay? We hear someone yelling.
Yeah, it's fine. We have a heckler here outside the Supreme Court.
I've got to say they
just keep screaming your fake news over and over and over. It's fucking hilarious. So that was CNN. So then you got the Fox News reporter standing like 40 feet away from this guy, and you could hear that guy yelling in the background. It's hilarious. Hold on, where's that?
Clarence Thomas, here he is questioning Michael Dreeben, the attorney representing special counsel Jack Smith.
Mr. Dreeben, does the president have immunity
I'm turning the Oval Office in.
Washington said is we're worried.
Does the president have immunity?
Applied Article 2 objections to criminal laws that interfere with an exclusive power possessed by the president or that prevent the president from accomplishing his constitutionally assigned functions.
And the clock is ticking. End of June, we should hear something, although it could be sooner. Harris.
All right, and there are protesters everywhere these days. Great reporting. David, thank you very much. So official amount.
Yes, so this was huge, and this was a thrust of what we heard today. If I'm former President Trump and I watch this, I'm actually feeling quite good about what I learned about, let's say, Justices Kavanaugh, what I learned about Alito, what I learned about Thomas, and I would add to that list Gorsuch, and here's why. They both brought up Kavanaugh and Gorsuch, and it was unclear where they stood before this moment, but they both brought up the issue of remanding, meaning sending this back to the lower court for more proceedings. And in fact, have their quotes here. You had Kavanaugh who said there's some private acts, there's some official acts, that analysis should be undertaken by the district court. And John Sauer said, yes, of course. Then you go to Gorsuch, you have to open the possibility of further proceedings. Yes, further proceedings. So that's 4 people who brought up potentially remanding it. Amy Coney Barrett, however, brought up the possibility of allowing litigation to play out with the official acts and allowing Jack Smith to continue forward on the private acts. All of this to say, why is this so important? The issue of remanding to a lower court. There was a case, it was called the Vance case, Vance v. Trump. It was about Cy Vance, ironically, trying to get documents for the Stormy Daniels case. And Trump said, no, I have absolute immunity. The court said, no, 7-2, you don't. But they remanded it to a lower court for further proceedings. That was July of 2020. The outcome didn't come until 8 months later, February of 2021. So if you get a remand, you potentially, with that precedent, could get an 8-month delay.
Yeah, and of course, Emily, a delay is a defeat for the political chase that this has been for Democrats.
Yeah, because that's fucking retarded. Apparently that New York trial, Trump's in court because what he wrote in his, like, checkbook ledger, he wrote, like, paid attorney or something like that. So that's what they're taking to court over. Fucking, if you look into it, it's so fucking stupid. Like, how is this even possible? Anyways, I thought that shit was funny.